Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a deep cut into a concept that's pretty fundamental to almost everything. Security, resilience, ethics. It's the idea of foundation. And we are diving into a stack of truly ancient texts. We've got writings from Isaiah, some really poignant Psalms, and teachings from the Gospel of Matthew.
It's an incredibly rich set of sources, and what really strikes me right away is the laser focus on one central theme.
Right.
It's this question of how do you build a life or even a community that can actually endure a crisis? And these sources, they deliver this extraordinary consistency, even spanning different eras. They're all pointing to the same thing, building on deep, unwavering trust.
Yeah, because we use the word foundation so loosely now.
Yeah.
A solid career foundation, a foundation of principles.
Yeah.
But these texts, they go way beyond the abstract.
They do.
They give us what feels like an actual blueprint, complete with required materials and, maybe more importantly, a guaranteed stress test that's coming.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack that blueprint. We're going to link three interconnected ideas that are all over these sources.
Okay.
First, the identity of the foundation itself, what they call the eternal rock. Second, the location where you choose to build, rock versus sand. And third, the action that has to follow, the difference between just hearing the instructions and, actually living them out.
Let's unpack this. I think we should start with that grand, sweeping imagery from Isaiah. It just immediately sets up this contrast between, divine and human stability.
Yeah, Isaiah 26, it introduces us to this powerful collective image. It's the strong city. The people are singing about the security, and they mention it's protected by walls and ramparts. But, and this is critical, this protection isn't from human soldiers or engineering. It's a security that's established by a higher power.
And the entrance requirements are so telling. It's not an open-door policy.
Wow.
This secure city is conditional. The text says, open up the gates to let in a nation that is just, one that keeps faith.
So access isn't about your lineage or your wealth. It's explicitly tied to two things, integrity and maintained trust.
So that's the prerequisite for getting in.
Yeah.
But the source of the defense is the foundation itself, right?
Exactly. It moves right to the core instruction. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord is an eternal rock.
With a capital R, that feels important.
Oh, absolutely. It's essential. This is the definition of stability, something constant, permanent, and fundamentally reliable. It's designed to contrast with, everything else that's temporary.
But the image isn't just one of praise for the rock. It immediately sets up this aggressive contrast with what is fleeting. The text turns its focus away from the strong city and towards something it calls the lofty city.
And the contrast just couldn't be sharper. If the strong city is built on faith and justice, the lofty city represents human pride, temporary worldly power.
The structures we build on our own ambition.
Right, on self-reliance. And the source makes it absolutely clear that this lofty city is inherently unstable.
And instability means one thing: guaranteed collapse. The text describes this active process of bringing it down. He humbles those in high places and brings the lofty city down, levels it with the dust. It's a prophecy about the ultimate failure of pride.
And that detail, that final dramatic image of its destruction, that's what sticks with you. The lofty city isn't just weakened, it's brought down so thoroughly that it is trampled underfoot by the needy, by the footsteps of the poor.
Wow.
So it connects the choice of foundation to real-world social consequences. It suggests the structures of pride are ultimately reversed and made subject to the very people they tried to dominate.
So it's this powerful commentary on societal structure. The rock foundation inherently elevates those who keep faith and live justly,
while the lofty foundation built on human ambition is designed to fall, to be trod upon by the marginalized.
Yeah, exactly. It really forces you to ask, what are you placing your life's weight upon? Is it something guaranteed to fail, or something that is, by definition, eternal and unchanging? And that challenge leads us right into the psalm that makes that choice explicit.
That brings us to Psalm 118, which moves from the big architectural imagery of Isaiah to a very personal, very direct statement about security.
It really cuts out all the ambiguity, doesn't it? That definitive declaration. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man.
It takes that general concept of trusting the eternal rock and just applies it to our immediate relationships.
And it specifically calls out the most powerful sources of authority at the time, saying it is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes.
Right. And for a listener today, princes could be anything.
Any powerful, influential, but ultimately temporary human structure. governments, markets, corporations, even powerful influencers.
That's the perfect analogy. Isaiah established that all human foundations, the lofty cities, will fall. The psalm reinforces this by telling us not to rely on the individuals, the princes, who run those fleeting structures.
Because they're inherently unstable. They're temporal. If your security is anchored to a shifting human authority, your foundation is just shifting right along with it.
Right. And then the psalm, after establishing where to place that trust, shifts to the action that results from that choice. It talks about the gates of justice. The speaker vows to enter them and give thanks.
So that's the critical transition from an internal belief to external engagement.
Exactly. Choosing the rock isn't a passive withdrawal from the world. It's an active choice to seek justice and act righteously. And that leads to gratitude, to confidence.
And there's this expectation of a response. I will give thanks to you, for you have answered me and have been my Savior. The Psalm suggests this choice leads to visible, tangible outcomes, salvation, prosperity. It confirms that the Lord is God and He has given us light.
The light is the guidance for the builder, but access to that guidance isn't, guaranteed forever, and we have to pull in that extremely concise, actionable instruction from Isaiah 55.
Oh, yeah.
That urges immediate application. Seek the Lord while He may be found. Call Him while He is near.
That introduces such a powerful urgency. The time to secure your foundation isn't when the crisis hits, when the diagnosis comes, or when the floods arrive.
The time is now.
The time is now, while the opportunity for building is present and the source of the foundation is actually accessible.
And that urgency just sets the perfect stage for our final set of texts, which move from the poetic, cities and gates to the brutally practical instruction on construction itself, the teaching from the Gospel of Matthew.
This is really where the rubber meets the road. It's no longer about whether you believe the rock exists. It's about whether you use it. Matthew 7 sets the standard for entry into the kingdom of heaven, and it's a high bar of action, not just agreement.
Absolutely. The barrier of words alone is crystal clear here. The text just challenges the validity of a purely verbal commitment. It says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven."
But only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven.
Right. It just fundamentally redefines what it means to be a disciple. It's a total rejection of empty rhetoric.
The accompanying reflections really underscore this. They note that true commitment is shown not by words alone, but by a life built on obedience to His will. So obedience is the active ingredient. It's what takes trust and turns it into an actual foundation.
And this leads directly to the defining analogy of the whole set, the parable of the wise man versus the fool. This story is designed to be the definitive, practical litmus test for all these concepts we've been talking about.
Let's break down the wise builder. His wisdom isn't just knowledge, it's application. He's defined by two steps. First, he hears the words, and second, he acts on them. That dual commitment results in a house built solidly on rock.
The emphasis is all on the execution. He applied the principles of the eternal rock, which he learned about, to the physical labor of his life. He didn't just admire the blueprints.
Right. He built according to the spec.
He did. And the story confirms that the wise man's life is not exempt from crisis. The source makes it a guaranteed condition. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and buffeted the house. The test is universal.
But because the foundation was rock,
the house did not collapse. The resilience is absolute.
Now let's look at the foolish builder. His failure is not ignorance. This is key.
So key.
He also listens to the words, but he does not act on them. He has the exact same knowledge as the wise builder, but his lack of execution means his structure rests on sand.
The failure is all in the follow-through. He had the opportunity to build on the rock, but he chose the path of least resistance. The shifting sand maybe was easier, quicker,
And when the inevitable storms hit his house, and they were the same storms that hit the wise man's house,
the result is catastrophic. The house on sand collapsed and was completely ruined. What's so important for the listener here is realizing that the severity of the storm was not the variable.
The foundation was the single variable.
The single variable dictating total ruin.
That detail is so powerful. The storm is a constant. Your foundation is your choice. But this raises a fascinating point about integration. If the foundation is provided by the eternal rock, what's the role of our human effort? Are we just passive recipients, or is our labor required?
That's where the synthesis is so necessary. And we can pull in Psalm 127 to connect the divine source with human responsibility perfectly. Unless the Lord builds the house, its builders labor in vain.
That is the ultimate clarification. So it means two things have to be true at the same time. First, the foundation, the rock, must be divinely provided. Second, the builders, us. We must engage in the necessary labor, the daily obedience, to actually construct the house.
Yes. The labor is essential, but if it's directed toward building on the wrong material, the sand, or that lofty city of pride, the effort is ultimately wasted, no matter how intense or sincere it is.
So obedience isn't just a moral requirement.
No, it's the structural integrity. It's the mortar that ensures the building sticks to the rock permanently.
So if we look back at Matthew 7, the foolish builder labored. He put up walls, he did the work. But his labor was in vain because it wasn't connected to the right source, to the rock. His efforts were just wasted.
And the reflection sources, they really reiterate this need for consistent daily effort. They emphasize that choosing daily faithfulness is what allows His truth to strengthen every part of our lives. It's an ongoing incremental process, not a single decision you made years ago and then forgot about.
And that ties us right back to the practical application for you, the listener, integrating this. The source material forces us to ask a really measurable question. What simple act of obedience can I practice today that shows I am building my life firmly on your teachings? It scales this monumental task of foundation building down to a single, achievable day's work.
And that transformation from grand concept to concrete action is the core utility of these sources. We've moved from the sweeping, secure image of the strong city and the permanent identity of the eternal rock, through the required choice to trust God over temporal power, and finally to this definitive real-world test of the wise and foolish builders.
The continuous thread is just unwavering. Security, permanence, resilience, it's all completely contingent on actively choosing the rock, that unwavering trust, and then pairing it immediately with corresponding daily obedient action.
Anything else is just destined to be leveled with the dust, no matter how impressive it looks on the outside.
A foundational choice dictates everything.
It's the difference between temporary damage in a crisis and complete total ruin.
So here is something powerful for you to take away and consider. The sources make it absolutely clear that the floods, the rain, and the winds, the tests of life, they're not conditional. They are guaranteed to come.
They're an inevitability.
An inevitability. So given that, the crucial decision isn't figuring out how to bypass the suffering, because you can't. The decision is, how, today, can one honestly discern the difference between the fleeting, momentary ease of the shifting sand and the demanding, obedient labor required to secure a life solidly on rock?
That discernment is the ongoing effort, isn't it? Realizing that the easiest path is almost always the one that leads to the greatest eventual collapse.
Thanks for diving in with us on The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.